So I came out of the surgery crippled, virtually. 3 months I was in absolute diabolical agony.
One part of his spine was not getting spinal fluid and it was trapped, so there was no fluid going between.
Ozzy is dead, but a haunting question lingers in the shadows. Was it Parkinson's disease that took him, or did a doctor's hand do it? Perhaps a single mistake in that operating room shortened the life of a man who had already defied death 100 times.
To be honest with you, the way I felt, death would have been a welcome gift.
Ozzy Osbourne went in for surgery. A fix for old wounds, a hopeful step forward, but something went wrong. After the procedure, the Prince of Darkness was left barely able to walk, trapped in a body that no longer obeyed him. Whispers of nerve damage and a doctor's mistake followed, but no clear answers ever came. The surgeon was never named, kept in the shadows. But maybe it's time we start asking who it was. Was it the fall that broke him? Or did a hidden hand bring down a legend? And you'll never guess how many pills they had him taking.
The list of drugs was unbelievable what they had him on. And there was about 60 or 70 pills that I think they had him on.
Once Ozzy Osbourne lost the ability to walk properly, everything began to unravel. Touring, the lifeblood of his existence, became impossible. Recording music, once a sanctuary, turned into a struggle. Even the gym, where he trained religiously every day to keep the chaos at bay, was now out of reach. The walls began to close in. Trapped in a body that had betrayed him, Ozzy watched the world he'd built slip away, piece by painful piece. And through it all, the guilt grew. He felt like a burden to Sharon, the woman who had always been his anchor. The Prince of Darkness, once larger than life, was now haunted not by demons of the past, but by the quiet devastation of helplessness.
With all these drugs you've given him, he would have to be in a wheelchair because he couldn't stand.
So, I haven't been pain-free in 3 years.
Known for defying every odd life threw at him, from addiction to injuries to a decades-long battle with Parkinson's, Ozzy always seemed untouchable. But now, with his death confirmed, a new wave of questions has surfaced. Because while the world was told he passed peacefully, those close to the situation hint there may have been more to the story. Could a recent surgery have played a part in his sudden decline? Or was it simply time catching up with the man who lived at full volume? This is what we know and what we don't. Just 2 weeks before his death, Ozzy Osbourne walked on stage in his hometown of Birmingham. It was meant to be a celebration, the final bow for Black Sabbath, the band that rewrote rock history. For fans, it was emotional. For Ozzy, it was personal. He powered through classic tracks like Paranoid and War Pigs, his voice still raw and powerful, even as his body showed signs of exhaustion. No one watching that night could have guessed it would be the last time they'd ever see him perform live. And yet, those close to him say it felt like a goodbye. Ozzy revealed his Parkinson's diagnosis in 2019, but by then, his body had already been through years of surgeries, tremors, and chronic pain.
Ozzy Osbourne, the end of Black Sabbath. Why?
Oh, well, you know, it's run its course, really. I mean, I spend most of my time in America now, and Tony, it just felt right, you know.
He spoke openly about the emotional toll, the moments he couldn't walk, the days he struggled to speak. Still, he never gave up hope. Ozzy was a fighter, always chasing the next treatment, the next possibility. Some days he seemed better, others not so much. But throughout it all, he held on to one thing, his desire to keep going and to keep performing, until his body finally began to slow him down for good. In the months leading up to his death, Ozzy reportedly underwent another surgical procedure, one more attempt to improve his mobility and relieve pressure from prior injuries. By all accounts, it was meant to help him, to restore just a bit of independence. But not long afterward, his health reportedly took a sharp turn. He became weaker, more distant. Public appearances stopped altogether. It's unclear if the surgery played a role or if it was simply the natural progression of his disease, but it's left many fans wondering about what really happened in those final weeks. Following the surgery, the Osbourne family went silent. Sharon, known for her openness, stepped back from the spotlight. There were no updates, no interviews, no explanations. When Ozzy's death was announced, the statement was short and heartfelt. He was surrounded by love. And maybe that's all that needs to be said. Still, some close to the family have quietly acknowledged that Ozzy's final weeks were more difficult than most people realize. Exactly how difficult? No one's saying for sure. But Fans around the world have started to ask, was something kept from the public? Here's what's been confirmed. Ozzy passed away peacefully at home with family by his side. His health had been declining gradually for years. Advanced Parkinson's can cause complications with speech, movement, and breathing. Add in the effects of multiple surgeries, a long career of physical punishment, and decades of pushing his body past its limits, and it becomes a perfect storm. Some medical experts have quietly noted that even routine surgeries can pose risks for someone in Ozzy's condition, but no conclusions have been made, and maybe they never will. Still, one question keeps coming up. Could anything have changed the outcome? Right now, there are no investigations, no accusations, just grief and curiosity. Ozzy Osbourne gave the world everything: music, mayhem, honesty, and vulnerability. He showed us what it means to survive and what it looks like to go out on your own terms. But in the days since his passing, fans, commentators, and even medical professionals have begun wondering, was it simply time, or was there more behind the scenes that contributed to the end? No one is pointing fingers, but as we remember Ozzy, it's fair to ask, what really happened in those final days? Because for a man who lives so loudly, the silence around his death is the one thing that feels out of place. Sharon met Ozzy when she was just 18 years old, young, sharp, and already immersed in the music world thanks to her father, Don Arden. But Ozzy wasn't just another artist, he was chaotic, broken, magnetic, a man with demons and genius in equal measure. And somehow, in that storm, Sharon saw something no one else did: a future. What started as a professional relationship quickly became something deeper. She became his manager, then his partner, then his wife. Their love story wasn't perfect, far from it, but it was fierce and unshakable. It was the kind of love that doesn't just survive the fire, it's forged by it. Together they raised a family in the glare of the spotlight. Jack and Kelly Osbourne were born into a world of noise and notoriety, but they were never neglected. Despite the chaos, the addiction battles, and the media frenzy, their home was bound by something stronger than dysfunction. It was love. When the Osbournes hit TV screens, the world saw it all: the yelling, the mess, the swearing, but also the deep, strange, unwavering affection. Sharon was the glue. She held the family together, often holding Ozzy together too. They were more than just famous, they were real. And they were always a unit. Now, with Ozzy gone, Sharon faces a future that's quiet and unfamiliar. She's never lived a life without him. They spent over 4 decades together. He was her storm, her anchor, her identity. And now she's alone. The question no one wants to ask, but everyone thinks about, begins to echo. Will Sharon ever love again? Will she stay celibate, devoted in memory for the rest of her life? Some believe she's already made that decision, that after Ozzy, there could be no one else. But should she make that choice? Must she? It's easy to romanticize eternal devotion, but what would Ozzy have truly wanted for Sharon? The man who spent his life in her arms, who said she was his whole world. Would he want her to carry his memory like a weight? Or would he want her to live, to laugh, to find comfort in someone's presence again? For all his darkness, Ozzy's love was fierce and unselfish. He knew how much Sharon gave up to stay by his side. Maybe now in death, he would want her to rediscover the parts of herself that were lost in his shadow. Sharon's story isn't over. Jack and Kelly are still by her side, protective, loyal, and deeply connected. The Osbourne family has always been close, and that bond remains unbreakable. Sharon has lost her great love, but she hasn't lost herself. Whether she chooses solitude or dares to open her heart again, her future is hers to shape. Ozzy's spirit, wild, flawed, loving, will never leave her. It lives in the music, in their children, in every room she walks through alone. This isn't the end of her story. It's the beginning of a quieter, braver one. I think now is a good time to take a moment of silence and think about the man Ozzy was and the love he brought to people's faces. A true legend.